Okay, so here's what we are up to this point. We're going to look at begin looking at the syllabus of the course. Okay, and let me roll forward a few slides. You've seen, my name, my legs, who I am. You've introduced yourself and you've gone through a moral dilemma, maybe. Okay, but here is, you should have at this point downloaded the syllabus and uploaded the syllabus. Right above these videos, there was an assignment telling you exactly what you were supposed to do there. But now let's go through the syllabus because I want to make sure that you have a good overview of what we're going to be doing in the course, even though we've jumped into it already. Okay, so the name of the course, first of all, is Philosophy, or short for Philosophy, PHI 6600, Section Dash oh 01, Section oh 01. The CUNY first ID is 24648, which you may never need, but you know where to find it. And the title of the course is Criminal Justice Ethics. Okay, I'm the instructor, Richard Legum. You know how to spell my name and everything. Okay, my office is in T8110B. The telephone number there is 718-368-6823. You can leave a message there, but the best way to get in touch with me, is via email. And I've reserved an account that you've already sent an email. I hope, even if you haven't, you better go back up a little bit higher in the week one work and do it to prof.legum@gmail.com. And it's important to spell that right because it's PROF short for professor. Legum, there's only one G, leg, okay, at gmail.com. Now that is an email it's a Google email, a Gmail email that I've reserved for my students, and it's something that I check very often. One thing that I don't check as often, but still very often, is my Kingsborough email account, richard.legum@kbcc.cuny.edu. And I should mention any official communication. What is an official communication? You're objecting to a grade, you want to drop the course, some other administrative matter, you think you haven't been treated fairly, send that an official notice like that to my Kingsborough account, the second email account. But if you just have a question about the course or want me to take a look at something, use the prof.legum email address. That's the best way to get in touch with me. And even if you're sending me something that an administrative thing that requires my attention, you might also want to send an email to the proflegum@gmail.com account to let me know that you've sent that, and that way you probably get a faster response. Okay, office hours right now they're set up for Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and by appointment via Zoom or phone. Please get in touch with me to make sure while I'm at these email addresses I'm not there. Check also this might change as the semester goes on. I might use this video. Well, I probably won't use this for any other semester, but if it does, I will make changes to the syllabus, which I think you know where to find at this point because we're talking about it, or I hope you have, because you were supposed to be able to. Okay, so that's how to get in touch with me. I'm happy to call you on a phone, even better Zoom. I'm going to set up conference times if you have questions where you can get me. But make sure to let me know that you're coming because some things, like you, sometimes things happen. I don't want to. I want to be respectful of your time and make sure I'm there if I'm supposed to be there. And if something comes up, I can get back to you and let you know that I can't be there. Now, this is a course, a philosophy course about ethics. And the general question of ethics is, how should I live my life? How ought I live my life? And look, it's the fundamental question of morality, or a fundamental question of morality that confronts everybody. And the purpose of this course, or one of the goals of this course, is to help you discover how to answer this question. That is, I'm not going to give you an answer to this question, but rather I am going to work with you to help you learn how to answer questions like that. Okay, moving on. Catalog description. I have to put this in. Oops, let me. It seems I'm having some finger problems today, controlling the mouse. Okay, the course description, application of ethical theories to moral issues arising in the American criminal justice system, such as civil disobedience, police corruption, whistleblowing, stop and frisk, prosecutor misconduct, plea bargaining, capital punishment, liability for unethical conduct, and the war on terror. Okay, those are things that we will go over in various sections of this course. And I also mentioned at the bottom that Philosophy 6600 fulfills the CUNY Pathways Flexible Core Group D individual and society requirement. If you're wondering what the heck that's all about and you're new to Kingsborough or new to CUNY, CUNY had set up a system to make it easier for you to get transfer credit for your courses. Furthermore, part of this whole system was to identify distribution courses. That is, they want you to have a broad education, and in this way, they've identified 5 groups. It's group A through E of courses that you have to select some courses that fulfill this. This one fulfills the requirement for group D. Now, the real description of the course, and you can probably read this, but I'll just read through it, maybe stop a few places and expand on something. This course is an introduction to the application of normative ethical theory to moral issues. Normative ethical theories are theories that philosophers have come up with to explain moral judgment, and we're going to learn how to apply these ethical theories to moral issues arising in the criminal justice system in the United States in particular. We'll examine the application of these philosophical theories to resolving contemporary moral issues in criminal justice, such as a few of them I've mentioned already on the catalog description: police corruption, whistleblowing, plea bargaining, capital punishment, racism in the criminal justice system. And we're going to use ethical dilemmas that arise in criminal justice as depicted in contemporary movies as cases for ethical analysis. That is, we're going to be watching some movies that raise these kinds of issues during the course of the semester. And we'll be using that as sort of the medium for examining issues and moral issues, and for trying to reach an answer to how to resolve this moral issue, how to answer the question. Okay, continuing with the course description. One thing you should be aware of is that philosophy, I'm not here preaching to you. This isn't a course in religion. Some professors think that their job is to preach to their students, to tell their students what the answer is and how they should behave. In philosophy, we focus not on what the answer is, but rather on one's reasons for believing. That is, not the beliefs that you have, but what your reasons are. And we'll be examining application of moral theory that have been proposed to explain and justify ethical judgments, in part some that you may have made, to moral issues that arise in the criminal justice system. And we're going to figure out how. How do we figure out what the right answer is? Did we have the right answer? Were our beliefs justified or correct? So that's really a concern that we have in philosophy. Okay, now let's move on a little bit further down the syllabus to outcomes. That is, what should you be able to do after completing this course? And after completing the course, let me get it up here. Okay, you should be able to identify moral problems confronting the administration of criminal justice in the United States. You ought to know what these major issues are. Right now, there are some, as I'm recording this, there are some serious issues that are confronting the society in the administration of criminal justice. And as time goes on, they probably will change. And you might be listening to this video a couple of years from now. Nonetheless, you're going to be able to learn how to identify moral problems, and you're going to, based on that, you're going to be able to understand, analyze, and explain the ethical issues that arise during the conduct of administration of criminal justice by the police, by the courts, the correctional institutions we have in juvenile justice, and the kind of issues that we're going to be able to try to find an answer to and understand the answers to and evaluate are issues like police corruption, whistleblowing, plea bargaining, capital punishment, and racism in the criminal justice system. That is, you're going to be able to understand and analyze these kinds of problems. Okay. You're also going to understand the leading moral theories or moral kinds of reasoning. There are really two basic ones: utilitarianism or consequentialism, in other name, and deontology or rule-based ethics. There's also a very popular one that I think is not a very good one, but nonetheless, we will talk about it because it seems that a lot of people believe this one is correct. That is ethical relativism. And we're going to understand what these theories are saying and how they apply to moral issues. We're going to be able to make, I hope, better decisions related to the morality of criminal justice system practices in, as I mentioned, policing, courts, corrections, through the through the analysis and evaluation of moral theories and arguments. And we're going to understand the moral underpinnings of our U.S. system of criminal justice. Now let's turn to the things that you will need in this course for a little bit of the next item on our syllabus: required materials. There is one, There is one book required, namely Case Studies in Criminal Justice Ethics. And in the information section, we'll actually see a link to it on Amazon. And this is a small book that we're going to be using. It has case studies that we're going to be using to help hone our skills in evaluating moral considerations in the criminal justice system. And in addition to which, we're going to be, as I mentioned, watching some movies which will serve as kind of good examples of the sort of issues that arise. In particular, we're going to watch a movie called The 7-5. If you're wondering where that name comes, some of you might be familiar with the 75th Precinct in Brooklyn. And it's a movie it's a documentary actually, about a case of police corruption in the 75th Precinct, which I think is in East New York. There's another documentary that we're going to be seeing. There's actually a movie about this, but I had a colleague, a younger colleague, who wasn't aware, heard of the movie, but wasn't aware that this was not a work of fiction. This was about a police detective named Frank Serpico. Long story about him, but it was another case about police corruption. Although he wasn't the corrupt one, the other policemen that he was working with were corrupt, and he refused to take graft. Interesting case. And third one we'll be talking about is based on a book that a few years ago we used to have a program called Kingsborough Reads, and there was a book called Just Mercy. In fact, I hope I've held this up well. That's the book. And they made it into a movie, but rather than reading the entire book, I'm going to have you watch the movie, and I'm going to bring in some other examples from the book. Very interesting book, and it covers all aspects of the criminal justice system and raises some interesting moral questions about them. And next I have written up what you need. I'll get this straight eventually. Okay. And in addition to that, there are a few things that I have proposed that you might be interested in looking at. If I can get okay, recommended materials. And there are a couple of books that I might recommend, especially if you're having difficulty in the course, but I think they're really good. There's something called the Cartoon Introduction to Philosophy. Remember, the course is about the criminal justice system, but it is a philosophy course, and we're going to be talking about what philosophy is. And this happens to be a very good book, the Cartoon Introduction to Philosophy. I thought it was a little bit of a crazy idea at first, that is trying to teach some serious stuff using a comic book, but I found that this was actually an excellent book in terms of the content and explaining the content. So I think especially if you're having a difficulty, I'm going to actually use some of this stuff in there. I'm going to let you see it, but I think it's a good book to have. There's another book, a little bit more complicated, a little bit more difficult book called Hornbook Ethics, which is kind of an introductory course to ethics and moral reasoning. And as I mentioned, the book Just Mercy. So those are some recommended materials. Am I going to give you assignments in these? No. If I'm giving you an assignment out of any of this, I'm going to give you the material that you need to read for the assignment.